That's why I think you need a badass woman in charge at the White House.
In case you don't know, that's Nikki Haley, the last remaining serious challenger to Donald Trump in the race for the Republican nomination for the US presidency.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley is having a moment.
Donald Trump has been leading the news cycle when it comes to Republican nominees for this year's presidential election. His victory in the Iowa caucus last month was shortly followed by fellow candidate and Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, ending his campaign for the White House.
Thank you and God bless.
And that was shortly followed by Trump coming out on top in the New Hampshire primary.
This has left a lot of people thinking that Trump is likely to win the Republican nomination.
No one can outwork me in this race.
I didn't know she was still campaigning.
No one can outsmart me in this race.
Nikki Haley is the only person who could stop that.
Have you ever heard of her?
20 years ago, Nikki Haley might have described herself like this.
I'm a mom. I'm a military spouse. I'm the daughter of legal immigrants. I'm an accountant.
All of that is still true about her, except now, so are a few other things.
I happen to be a two-term governor, and I happen to be a UN ambassador, and I happen to be running for president.
Haley's political career began when she was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 2004. Then in 2010, she was elected as the state's Republican governor.
Haley was only 38 when she was sworn in, which made her the country's youngest governor.
She was also South Carolina's first female governor, and only America's second governor of Indian descent.
May God bless South Carolina, and may He continue to bless the United States of America.
In 2014, Haley was re-elected as governor, but just 2 years later, she gave up that position to accept a different one, the US ambassador to the United Nations. And the person who gave her that job? Well, that was the then newly elected president.
Early on in the 2016 presidential campaign, Haley wasn't exactly Trump's biggest supporter.
Donald Trump is everything I taught my children not to do in kindergarten.
Eventually, she did back him, which was how she ended up as the UN ambassador.
During her tenure, Haley built a reputation for strongly representing the Trump administration's policies and its America First agenda.
She was the spokesperson when the US removed itself from both the 2015 Paris Agreement and the UN Human Rights Council.
The Human Rights Council is the United Nations' greatest failure.
Ultimately, Haley wasn't in the role for very long. In 2018, she stepped down after less than 2 years as ambassador.
She's done a fantastic job, and we've done a fantastic job together.
In her 2019 memoir, Haley largely spoke well of Trump's presidency, and at a press conference in 2021, she said that she would support him if he ran again in 2024.
I would not run if President Trump ran.
So how did things go from that to this?
I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
Nikki Haley is now one of the few high-profile Republicans to criticize some of Trump's actions. Although she did mostly speak well of the president in her 2019 memoir, she also described how some of his comments deeply disturbed her.
It was when she kicked off her presidential campaign, though, that Haley really started going to town.
With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another.
Haley has openly criticized Trump, and unsurprisingly, Trump has reciprocated.
She had a very bad night. She had a very bad night. You can't let people get away with bullshit.
Haley has positioned her candidacy as an opportunity for voters to put a
Badass woman.
in the White House, and has said that she would represent generational change. Let's not forget that Trump and Haley both belong to the same party, but that doesn't mean their policies are aligned.
So what exactly does Nikki Haley stand for?
Trump's campaign has emphasised his hard America First stance, while Haley has been described as more of a down-the-line conservative.
She's been quite clear that her main policy areas would be tax reform and restricting spending.
We'll get the spending back on track, and I will veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels.
On foreign policy, she's called China the biggest threat to America's national security.
She's also promised to continue providing funds and relief in Ukraine's war against Russia, and to bring in the Trump-era laws limiting asylum seekers arriving from Mexico.
No more safe havens for illegal immigrants.
Haley's stance on abortion and transgender rights are more controversial. She's indicated she doesn't believe that transgender people under 18 years old should be allowed to transition. And in November last year, she said that she would have signed a ban on abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy if it would have been possible to do so while she was the South Carolina governor.
Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions?
Initially, Haley didn't start out the race for the Republican nomination with a high poll rating, but her standing steadily grew and she got the support of some big backers, like Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, who reportedly poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into her campaign. Reading the polls right now, it doesn't look likely that Haley will beat Trump.
But after her campaign's second consecutive loss to Trump in the New Hampshire primary last month, she vowed to fight on.
This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go.
Trump is a clear frontrunner, even though he's still facing a lot of legal challenges. But the way that the primary races work in the US means Haley could theoretically end up winning some important states, and so her momentum against Trump could increase. However this race plays out, Nikki Haley has shaped up as a fierce competitor.